Hello and welcome back to the shed. And today's episode is the third video in the wooden joint series. In today's video we're going to be dealing with the Dado. Hope you enjoy. The Dado is a joint where two boards are joined at 90 degrees on the flat axis of the board, so when the boards are flat like this. And it's most commonly seen in cabinetry for the use of fixed shelves. The tools we'll be using today is marking gauge, a square, two different size chisels, a wheel marking gauge, a tenon saw, and a mallet. We'll also be making use of the hold fast again to hold our boards down. So the marking out and layout for a Dado is one of the most simple things you could do. It is very easy and it's not a very time-consuming process. It is actually very quick and easy to do. The joint is done across the board, so we will be severing the fibres using a knife before we get in there and saw it out and then chisel it. Okay, so I've gone ahead and drawn a line here. So we've measured up and this is where we want our shelf to start here. So our shelf's going to come in and it's going to sit in here like this. When we do a Dado measurement, you could use a marking gauge and run a line there or use a ruler, but I find it's better to use the actual piece of wood we're going to be using. So since we've got a knife line there, we can push our piece of wood up against that. We can judge it here and here. And we can make a little nick on this opposing side here. Now that we've got that nick, we can come along like this, push up to it, and make our mark. Now, this piece is 19mm thick, so theoretically our line should be 19mm, and it 100% is 19mm. So the next thing we need to do, now that we have our two lines on here, is we need to mark our line on here for how deep we're going to cut this little Dado here. So I've got this marking gauge here set to 6mm. I'm using the rule of thirds, as you've seen me mention when I did the tenon video, if you've seen that. This is 19mm, so 6mm is roughly a third of it. So we're going to put that mark on both sides. Then we're going to get the square marked down from these lines. So we have a line marking the Dado all the way around. So we have our baseline here, these lines cut in with the knife. We have our original lines drawn in for the thickness of our board, and we have this the corresponding marking on the... So now we have to go ahead and cut this out. There's only a couple of little things we need to know when we're cutting this out is we don't want to go past these lines that we've drawn here, so we definitely want to make sure we're cutting on the inside, and we can clean those shoulders up later afterwards with a chisel if we slightly undercut them. It's better to take too little off than too much, and in this case you would have a very loose Dado joint if you did that. So we're going to saw this out. So the first step to make sure we get that dead accurate line is we're just going to cut back with the chisel against that knife line on both sides. We'll just clear that waste out, and again there's a little bit of waste left in there, so just grab your knife and remove it, because you don't want any of that sitting in there disrupting your saw coming through. And we'll do the same on this side. So now we have these two ridges in place. I'm just going to, just along the edge here. We're going to grab our tenon saw. And like everything else, we're going to start at the far side and we're going to nibble our way back across that line, using our finger to push it against that little ridge that we've done with the knife. So now we've got this engaged here. We're going to go ahead, work it down to our line. So now we've got that cut, we need to remove this waste. Now that is quite a big piece of waste to just smash out with a chisel or chop out with a chisel or a router plane or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is come in right in the middle and I'm going to cut another curve. Now what that's done has meant that we've got a much smaller area, so when we're taking it out with the chisel, it's going to be much easier to remove. So what we're going to do now is bring our chisel in, and I'm going to go bevel down, and we're going to sit right at the top, and I'm going to try to not use the mallet. And I'm just going to try and push out what will come out. We can also go bevel up for this process as well if it's causing a problem. And we just work our way through. A joint like this is a mechanical joint, and if you've done it nice and tight, it doesn't really need glue to hold it. You could add a little bit of glue to make sure it doesn't fall out, and that's all that would be required. But normally you'd have it on both sides of a board to hold the shelf, so therefore there's not really any chance of it dropping out unless there was a lot of weight in the middle and you had no support on it. So there you have it, folks. That's how you mark up, cut out, and do a dado joint for something such as a shelf. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what you saw in this video and would like to support me and allow me to continue making these great videos for you, please consider liking and subscribing and checking out my Facebook and Instagram pages. I also encourage you, if you have any questions related to the content in any of my videos, please leave it in the comments below and I'll try to get back to you. Thank you.